Examiner Sports section this morning is back in control. Final pain won't stir Colin McCarran's demons. Pure football. Kerry's young guns ready for an innocent final. Don't know what the
innocent about.
Yeah. Fear factor why Rob Kearney didn't want the ball last season and then scrounging for work. Irish road racing champ Conor Dunn's dismay as Aqua Blue collapse. That's the cycling team. Aqua Blue is no longer going to be seeking a UCI licence next year. It was a kind of story that went a bit under the radar this week. Rob Kearney was doing press the other day at the launch of the new relationship that Leinster have with that consultancy firm, and was basically saying that there were times in recent seasons when he would get the ball and he would be terrified that his hamstrings were going to pop. There were 5 hamstring strains in one season a couple of years back, but last season actually things improved vastly and he kind of started to completely enjoy himself again. So, you know, fully fit Rob Kearney and fully confident in his body would be something absolutely spectacular. Kerry's young guns ready for an innocent final. I guess because
I suppose it's like under 17.
They're proper kids. You forget that.
Yeah, you do notice it's very noticeable that it is the year younger as well when you've been watching it this year. Like the strength and conditioning clearly hasn't really come into the game.
It's way more like a school's game.
Yeah, and like a lot more scope for crazy stuff to happen. Although, like you look at the 2011 All-Ireland minor final, and crazy stuff has always happened in minor football finals. But that semi-final against Monaghan was an insane game. Kerry were very lucky to hold on. And like, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm trying to think of any in men's sport, it is any hurling or football team at minor, senior, under 21
done
5 in a row. I don't think it's obviously never happened at senior in hurling or football. It's never happened in minor football before. Kerry were the first team to do 4 in a row. So,
are you getting t-shirts printed?
Well, I may or may not be wearing one right now underneath the shirt.
They'll be for sale around training this week just to make sure the Kerry lads know that actually you may as well just show up.
I'm sure whoever printed those t-shirts in '82 still has them lying around somewhere.
Is the Kerry Man newspaper saying give us the trophy now?
It's not actually. The general belief is that this Galway team is going to be the toughest test in the 5 years.
Yeah, we've never seen a team like it.
Those Galway kids are really scaring the people down in Kerry right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Beware of the dog is the front of the Kerry Man this week, I'd say, or something like that.
So obviously, Owen is not going to an actual picnic this week. He is definitely going to Croke Park to witness that little bit of history.
Well, I wouldn't have got a ticket. I'm not going, but I wouldn't have got a ticket.
Kerry are going to win 5 in a row. Did you even look for a ticket?
I did, actually, yeah. I was trying to get a ticket for somebody else, and
I'd say you tried hard, yeah.
I did try, and I didn't succeed.
And is this going down well amongst your Kerry supporting brethren?
No, they wouldn't be. They wouldn't be overly happy now with me not going to.
What was the direct quote?
I was told that I'm going away to some music shite instead of supporting the Kerry 5 in a row. When in actual fact, I would have probably just stood in the lobby of the Croke Park Hotel and watched it. And like, come on. Like, if I'm not going to be there, I may as well go and do something with my weekend, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, as in, because you weren't going to get a ticket. Right, so on to the Irish Independent this morning. O'Sullivan primed to bolster Dub's quest. This is a miracle recovery, apparently, from Cian O'Sullivan. A hamstring problem saw the Kilmacud Crokes defender limp out of the first half of the All-Ireland semi-final win over Galway, but his extraordinary powers of recovery have come to the rescue. He's reported to be going extremely well in training. It did look like he felt a twinge and came off straight away. There was no kind of, I'm going to run this off. You know, he didn't need to be a hero at that point. The game was still in the melting pot, as if it was ever in the melting pot, but like you could see that Galway were kind of punching themselves out. Kearney, what we did last year won't be enough to win again. That's obviously that Rob Kearney story. And Spurs still in Bazunu hunt with keeper set to move for record Irish fee. So this is good, that there's actually a bidding war evolving between Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspur. So apparently Roy Donovan was signed for $500,000 by Sunderland in 2007 from Cork City. So the 400 grand switch could yet still be more than that, and could be yet a record for a player from the League of Ireland, which would be good.
Yeah,
we could do some record breaking.
That question, I wonder, are they going to get themselves a clause where you get a 10% selling on fee? Like, that is obviously the key clause you need as a League of Ireland club, isn't it? Because who knows how high Gavin Bazunu's star is going to rise over the next couple of years, but you know, he goes for 20 million in 10 years time, 5 years time somewhere else. It's like, well, that's a handy little 200 grand right there.
Yeah, and we'll just take a little percentage as you go, maybe 25% as opposed to...
Well, actually, it would be 2 million or 20 million, actually.
Greatness of Gavin's Dubs, butchers by the numbers. It's done like a Boyle's talking point. 11 men go in search of their 6th medal, while 3 have started every final since 2011. The 3 who started every final since 2011, Cian O'Sullivan, James McCarthy and Stephen Cluxton.
There's 11 going for it, because we were totting this up outside, and we came up with a figure of 10. And Eoin O'Gara is a bit of a dispute because he doesn't actually play in the final in one of the years 2013 or 2015.
There was no dispute. It's like he gets an All-Ireland medal. You're like, no, I'm not.
He's not in the matchday squad for the final.
Not
he was out with the cruciate for the whole year.
Yeah, it's a bit harsh.
He would
have been in the matchday squad.
He would have been, yeah. Like, kind of like, I suppose, let me just think. Dennis Bastick would have been in the squad this year if he didn't retire. Or, like...
No, he retired. I mean, that's different. Injury enforced, you get a medal at the end of the year. Dennis Bastick won't get a medal this year for retiring. Eoin O'Gara got one the year that he didn't show up with it.
There was sport is cruel. Sport is cruel sometimes.
Levy making progress after sternum injury. This is Dan Levy, who of course started last season as third choice number 7 for Leinster, and by the end of it was like being spoken about as the best number 7 in the Northern Hemisphere. So he's coming back from a sternum injury. It looks like himself, Van der Fleer and Sean O'Brien will all be available for selection at the same time. Can you stick them all in the same team somehow? Turn one of them into a 6.
One into an 8.
Leave Levy at 7 and have Sean O'Brien at 8. Dembele set to go as Lyon state interest. This is Moussa Dembele. Celtic season getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It's like you've got some really good stuff going on, and then all of a sudden, don't qualify for the Champions League. Our best players going away. Didn't get any good players in this year. Rangers suddenly not crap after a long time.
Well, they're less crap for sure.
Yeah,
they might still be crap. Maybe everybody in Scotland is still crap. We just don't know.
They appear to be pretty crap at the weekend.
Yeah, like if Celtic are that bad, as in not getting through, like a relatively straightforward tie in the Champions League, and they're better than Rangers, then I would contend that Rangers are still crap.
The Champions League group draw is today. Declan Rice and Manuel Pellegrini gave a press conference yesterday towing the official West Ham party line that we want him to be English because we get loads of money for it. I bet you he's actually on some kind of bonus to convince him to play for England as well. I think that they've seen a little gap, whatever that. So Brian Kerr was talking about stuff last night. There's a clip doing the rounds about how there might have been something more to it, that maybe some incident happened with the Irish setup that has kind of made Declan Rice think about something in a different way.
That'd be unfortunate, wouldn't it? Because the way it's been spoken about is it's like, well, we can't control this.
It's all the agent's fault.
Yeah, it would be horrible to think that maybe that there was an incident that maybe could have been avoided that has actually pushed Declan Rice away, but I guess we just don't know.
So Declan Darcy was obviously doing some media recently in the build-up to the All-Ireland football final. Gavin Cummiskey has a piece with him. Every year is completely different tactically as well. Game sense, it evolves big time. Every year there's a huge shift and you just have to adjust. Other teams set up differently. New teams arrive. And then Eamon Donoghue has a great piece here. Tyrone has forced Dublin to do what they don't, take risks. Dublin's shots outside the scoring zone 2018. There are no shots outside the 45.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
In 2018, which is...
from play, that is, obviously, but not one. I was very surprised to see that statistic. It's
a great stat.
And there's also a little bit of breathing space in between the 45-metre line and their furthest out shot. So, like, you're talking 42 metres maybe as their furthest out shot, and also, like, just...
it's in a perfect semicircle as well. It's almost like, there's no Hail Marys from the touchline. Like, they have that 43-metre radius, and it's like almost as if they train within a certain thing and things are programmed.
Yeah, it's like that point that we've been making before, is that how well would Diarmuid Connolly actually function in this system? Now, the thing is this system, has this gone to a more robotic level this year because Diarmuid Connolly isn't there? Or if Diarmuid Connolly was there, would he just not be as beautifully creative as he always has been because of the system?
I think there would be like 5 or 6 shots from outside the 45 and it'd be a 50% strike rate, and they'd all be Diarmuid Connolly, and like it'd be done in the first 2 or 3 minutes of a game, where it's like, that's the game plan, lads, but we're the ones who are actually doing it in the pitch now. I don't know if everybody knows this, but Tommy Rooney and Eamon Donoghue are flatmates, and
oh yeah,
Tommy has helpfully found a video from the 2014 game where Connolly scores from 48 yards, just like bangs it over. But I can just imagine the geekery that happens in the conversations about GAA stats.
It's
and the state of the club game. I'd say like 4 o'clock in the morning after a night out, there's like a good hour and a half of the two lads just agreeing with each other about the state of the club game and what can be done to fix it.
Yeah, I'd say one person's like, Paul Flynn's hamstring is stronger than Diarmuid Connolly's. No, Diarmuid Connolly's hamstrings are stronger. I'd say that's the arguments that occur in that house.
Right, what have you got for us?
Back page of the Irish Daily Mail has got a good story this morning. Andy staying put. Boost for Ireland as Farrell turns down approach from the RFU. And you've also got that Anthony Martial story, which we'll come back to in a moment. But Andy Farrell, a request was put in from the RFU to get this guy back on the British shore and he rejected it. So he's obviously sacked by England 2.5 years ago. And just saying before we came on air, the 2015 World Cup failure from England is probably the best thing that ever happened to Irish rugby, not because we hate England, but because it made Stuart Lancaster available, it made Andy Farrell available, and the way the RFU handled it meant that Stuart Lancaster and Andy Farrell hate the RFU, and by extension, love what they're currently doing now. And unless they get another job with, say, maybe going on to the Southern Hemisphere, like I can see them staying put in Irish rugby and helping us out for the foreseeable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's also great that the current England head coach seems to be so widely disliked by his own staff that they're leaving in droves.
Yeah.
They haven't replaced the defence coach. They haven't replaced the attack coach. They've just lost their head of strength and conditioning. This is a story in the papers today that the RFU are kind of looking at this a year out going, we can't get anybody to work with you here. Why does nobody want to work with you, Eddie? It's almost like you have a reputation for not being very much fun to work with.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think there's a situation now where you look at it and think, well, it's too late, we're too close to a World Cup. Because you look at the bounce that they got off Eddie Jones within 1 year.
Yeah.
So they could sack Eddie Jones in the morning and still put together a really good chance at putting themselves into contention for the World Cup next year.
I'd say it's 50-50. And it will be 50-50 up until the end of the Six Nations, whether or not he is the head coach at the start of the World Cup.
Who's in more jeopardy, Jose Mourinho or Eddie Jones?
Mourinho, because of the pace at which this all happens.
Yeah, he's going to get sacked first, no question.
Well, also, I mean, look what they're doing. They're signing Anthony Martial to a new 5-year contract. Martial's telling everybody, well, I think I'm going to outlast Mourinho here. That type of stuff. How do the newspapers know what Anthony Martial is thinking unless somebody actually tells them he's going to sign this because he thinks that he's going to be there longer than Jose?
Yeah.
So that the leaking that's happening, it seems quite a bit of leaking going on against Eddie Jones as well. So I would not be surprised if look, Eddie Jones is definitely going to survive to the end of the November internationals, right? But if they go badly, then they have to make that decision, you would suspect, before the Six Nations. But then the Six Nations could be a complete disaster for them if things continue on the path they're on at the moment.
Let's hope so. Back page of the Herald this morning. Is Mickey a class apart? This is Declan Darcy doing the rounds at the moment, not a fellow we often hear from in his current setup. Darcy eager to pit wits against godfather of managers, and you've got that Rogers story as well, admitting to the Dembele interest. Now this is the Anthony Martial story on the back of the Mirror. Old Trafford board offer French striker new 5-year deal despite Jose trying to sell him on, and as George said there, you can read between the lines there. Anthony Martial is fairly confident that he's going to outlast Jose Mourinho at Manchester United. Seems like the hierarchy want to keep him, as they should, because he's a fantastic young player. Jose Mourinho doesn't want to keep him. So it seems that if there's an Anthony Martial versus Jose Mourinho power struggle right now, Anthony Martial is favoured by the Manchester United board to come out on top. And it is that story as well on the back page of the Irish Daily Star. This one up here, though, in the top left, Kieran Cunningham writing that James Horan has been installed as favourite to succeed Stephen Rochford, but he has no intention of getting involved in the speculation. Now, he also seems to have little intention of actually getting involved with the job himself. So, inter-county management is incredibly demanding, he says. I did a 4-year stint with Mayo before, and you have to be very careful that it doesn't take over your whole life. It's not an easy gig, and you have to be totally committed to have any chance of making it work. Since stepping down, I've done various other things, and I'm managing Westport at the moment. I'm just trying to find a killer line, which is something he really enjoys. To be honest, a return to the inter-county game hasn't been on my short-term radar. We're in the quarterfinals of the Mayo Championship. My name has been mentioned, but there's been no approach. With my involvement with Westport, it wouldn't be right or fair to draw into any speculation that's going around. So short term is the key word there. Does he mean short term as in like
January?
That's it, or does he mean short term as in this year, next year? Let me take over after the next manager's kind of done his bit next year.
Is there an All-Ireland window open, or is there an All-Ireland window closing for Mayo?
Well, it's still open, but it is closing. Like every single year we say they'll never be back, and a lot of people who say that were proved right this year. And I think there was that theory at the start of 2017 that it was like, Mayo are done, they're too old, they're aging, and then they proved us all wrong in 2017. So we came into this year and we forgot the empirical evidence in front of us, which was that there were some key players and key positions that are aging, but it's Mayo. They're going to get through the back door even if they lose to Galway, and they're going to challenge Dublin. And then suddenly they didn't. And they lost to Kildare, and they were out of the championship. And maybe what everybody was saying at the start of 2017 actually rang true, that this is a rapidly declining team. Still a great team, but a rapidly declining one. And I can't see any evidence to suggest that that's not the case, that it's still not declining.
They have a bunch of really good young players who will be a year older. They still have some wise old heads who like they were absolutely cursed with injuries this year.
Yeah, it's fair.
Used the word cursed actually.
Well, like they lost their midfield.
Yeah, and like you can't afford to lose. When you're Mayo, you need like 90% of your players to be available 90% of the time. With Dublin, you can afford some injuries here and there, but it's funny that Dublin actually don't get that many soft tissue injuries. Like their strength and condition seems to be really good. The point I guess that I'm making is that it feels like Mayo have enough resources to be able to be competitive, and then it's whether or not they have the game smarts and the tactics and the big time mentality, which they clearly do from their best players, to put it up to Dublin. So, like, if this was a Mayo Dublin All Ireland final this weekend, the country would be going completely mental.
It would be. I think Darren was just saying out in the office that we've taken it all for granted. I think we've taken Mayo for granted. The joy that Mayo have actually brought to it. I didn't know that Mayo were bringing me joy over the last couple of years, but I realise now that they were.
You could say they were one of the best stories of the Irish sporting decade.
Let's not go that far. Let's not go that far.
If you do, your Twitter handle, your Twitter account will blow up.
Back page of the Sun is push up or get crushed. Kick-outs key for Alan. So Alan Brogan here has advised Tyrone to push up on Stephen Cluxton's kick-outs in the All-Ireland final on Sunday. This is something...
Can I just ask you, if you're Tyrone, are you taking any advice from Alan Brogan on how to beat Dublin? Are you? Are you like looking at that going, geez, he's right. We definitely have to do what this former footballer of the year, Dublin legend, brother of Bernard, is telling us how to be. I don't think he's telling the full truth when he's giving advice on how to beat the Dubs.
To be fair,
I just don't think it's happening.
In the year 2018, saying that you need to push up on Cluxton's kickouts is like saying you need to mark your man tightly. It kind of goes without saying. Well, to a certain extent, you've got to push up on some of the kickouts.
Come on, exactly. It's not right. It absolutely isn't right, because the very first kickout in last year's All-Ireland semi-final, Tyrone pushed up, Cluxton chipped it over their heads, and the Dubs had the game won. It was over.
Yeah.
It's done. At that stage, you're
like, it was a Rory Beggan kickout, wasn't it? One of those floaters that just go right over. I don't know. It completely changes. It fluctuates massively whether or not you push up or not, and it depends on the situation of the game. We will have Fitzmaurice and Keegan on in a few minutes to kind of give us a bit more detail on that. Both teams have had a bit of success against Cluxton, against Dublin. When I say a bit of success, I mean like brought into the pit of their collar in big championship games. But
pretty successful.
Yeah, it's relatively...
We're talking about this being the greatest team of all time. That's pretty successful. Like, you're right there with the greatest team of all time on the biggest occasion. Yeah. I mean, like what? That whole point of sport is to be competitive. It's not to win, it's to be competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess being competitive is part of it. Winning is also important.
Winning is nice, but you can't guarantee it.
No, that's true. Back page of The Guardian this morning is Southgate rings changes. Young makes way for Shaw's England recall. And the Daily Telegraph then is going with cricket. Gloves are off. Bairstow unhappy after being told by Root that Butler will keep wicket against India. And you've got that Shaw call up as well. He's one of the few figures at Manchester United whose stock is rising at the moment, Luke Shaw, or it's back on the rise. He's slowly rebuilding his form, slowly rebuilding his reputation, and back in the England squad.